Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level.
Hi friends, today we have a special episode for you. We are talking with our special guest, Jen Reeves. She is the owner of A Little Knitty, a fabulous local yarn shop in Milton, Washington.
In Milton, Washington.
So adorable. I have been there myself and enjoyed her space. It's really fabulous. A great place not only for yarn lovers, but a great place for classes, right? You have classes and a little group knitting space. And
I'm sitting in our little cafe space that is great for like just anytime people can come sit, knit, and crochet and just get together. You know, that's what it's about.
I love it. Yes, community really is the focus of a lot of what you do, building a community that has a lot of shared interests and things in common there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we strive to do with ours. You know, we have our private Facebook group, Travel Bugs. We really are constantly meeting new people that we're inviting in who are just really in love with the idea of travel and trying to find other friends that have the same interests. So that's a lot of what you do, but with crafting, right?
Yeah. And I mean, crafting can be very solitary, right? Like a lot of times, like early when I was knitting, I didn't know anybody else who knit. And so it was just something I did at home and nobody else really knew I did it as much as I did. And so sometimes it can be just something that you don't make those connections. But then once you start meeting people who, you know, get excited about the same things that you do, and it's just fun, you know, when you can say, look what I made, and, you know, show off what, you know, what you're knitting to somebody who is excited instead of like your husband that's like, oh, that's nice.
That's right. That's a good point. I hadn't really thought of, like, having that crowd that appreciates and values things the same way you do.
Yeah. And understands how much work it was.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Definitely the same. That's a similarity definitely with travel, like how much work it is to put it together, or how much you long to see something and experience something that maybe other people don't relate to. So yeah, having a group of friends that have that shared interest is so valuable in our lives, right? And like really life good. Yeah. So one of the reasons we wanted to invite you on and talk with you today, Jen, is because we're seeing this trend of more and more women bringing together their hobbies with travel. So pulling together two things they really love and experiencing that more, or setting aside more time and money to pull those things together. So have you done that in your own life? Do you find yourself combining knitting or other crafting with travel?
Yes, well, for sure. I mean, I love travel, but, you know, through pandemic times and also when I had little kids, I didn't travel as much. And so there was a good, 10-year span where like travel just wasn't part of my life. And so now that I can, my kids are teenagers and, life is different. And I can afford it too. In my early 20s, I couldn't afford much more than like, just a car trip, and sometimes not that. And so, I am having like this revenge travel. Like I want to do all the things because I, for many years I didn't do it. So, and then what I've really noticed about knitters and yarn crafters is that the journey is part of our vacation. So for a lot of people, the thought of going to the airport and hanging out for 3 hours because they got there insanely early doesn't sound much fun. That is my favorite thing in the entire universe. Is just to sit and knit in an airport and people watch. It is my favorite. So my vacation starts like as soon as I hit the airport, like vacation has started because I'm just sitting, knitting, enjoying life. And then the journey also, recently I traveled to New Zealand, and that 12-hour flight from LA to Auckland was like nothing because I got to knit the whole time. And so, not only is the destination important for us, but just the journey is really, really important. And so I think we travel a little differently than the average person because we're including the journey as part of the fun.
That's a great point I hadn't really thought of, and has got to be so true for a lot of other people in your situation who are doing handcrafts, embroidery or something like that, where they're able
Cross-stitch, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any issues then? I guess are you saying you don't really have issues with like TSA checks with knitting needles and things like that?
I've never, ever had any issues except for flying out of Cancun and Cabo. Both those locations are not fans of knitting needles. And so you can fly in with them, but sometimes you can't fly out with them. And I mean, if you get caught. I do have a little travel hack of like knitting needles have the ability to, some of them have the ability to screw off. They're called interchangeable needles. And if you take those off and put them in a pencil case, they go through TSA, no problem.
That's a great tip right there.
Yeah, a little travel hack. But I'm not sure about like European. I the only international travel I've done is Mexico and Bahamas. And so I don't know about other destinations. We're always at the mercy of, even though the rules say we can bring them in, if somebody's having a bad day,
Right. Yeah. somebody overzealous at their job or something.
You just never know. So I always bring kind of my least favorite knitting needles just in case they get taken away.
That's a great point. That's a good idea. Don't bring your brand new favorite.
Don't bring the whole set of expensive needles, just in case. I mean, I've never had any problems. I fly back from, like, one time I was flying back from a yarn convention, and I had bought a whole bunch of knitting needles and scissors, and I carried them on. And I mean, I'm sure that the airport was full of people in the same space as me of like bringing home product with them. So I'm sure I'm not the only one they saw that day.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Or put it in your luggage if you have check-on luggage.
Yeah.
You're worried. Yeah, that way you know it's going to.
But we have to have our projects with us.
Of course, you don't want to lose those precious hours. Yeah. I love that idea because I'm a huge fan of this, and this is something like personally, anybody that's traveled with me, they know I'm going to preach it to you on the day we leave. That like the minute I leave my house, the trip has begun.
Yeah,
and I do not suffer the whole, like, if I'm with somebody and they want to whine and complain about how long the wait is at the airport or any, like, I do not put up with that. I'm like, if you don't like it, go find something to do. This place has got things,
It's magical.
Like,
it's magical.
I love that.
But
the possibility. It's a space of possibility. So yeah, and like road trips, same way. I am not the road trip is the suffering to get to the end. No. Like that's part of the process. I believe when you leave your house, the trip began. So
yep,
so
I agree
you
too.
What you got to do to make it fun? Yeah, if you got to spend a little extra money to make it awesome that day, then do that because it's part of the trip. But so I love this idea of like for crafters that is a special part, like especially if you're together, if you're traveling as a group, then really essentially you have your crafting circle there together, already on vacation.
Exactly. We draw some, like if there's more than one of us, we draw a lot of weird looks, which is so funny because this is my full personality, right? Like yarn is my whole life. And so to me, sitting and knitting, either by myself or with friends is totally not weird, right? But then to the general population, it's a little strange, but it's fun because you usually get comments of like somebody coming up to you and like, oh, my grandma does that, or I used to watch her, knit, and it's fun. It does spark conversation. One time I was on a flight and the flight attendant came by and was like, can you make me a red sweater? And I was like, I'll work on that. And it was like a short flight, right? And so then when he came by to serve drinks, he's like, would you like a little wine? I'm like, sure.
That's nice. That's a perk right there. I love it. Well, that is so cool. Okay, so like what kinds of locations do you see kind of as like a good destination for yarn crafting in particular, knitting, crochet, that kind of thing? What are you seeing either for yourself, what's kind of on your radar, or what do you see your clientele experiencing?
I would say like colder climates Yeah, that's the word. Places where you'll be able to find yarn shops. I mean, I love the Bahamas. I love the hot weather, but it's not really like a yarny destination, right? Like you're not, the last thing you're going to want to do is like be knitting with wool and it's 100 degrees out. So I would say the cooler climates, and especially going to like yarn festivals and, seeing other yarn shops. I mean, every single yarn shop has a different story to tell, and it's just really fun to experience them. So yeah, colder weather.
That makes sense. And I know that's true for quilters too, that they like to go to quilt shops, and so they want to, or fabric shops, they want to go see something that maybe they don't have access to where they are. Exactly. And
what's
maybe
local to that place.
Right,
yeah,
if there's like a local pattern or a local fabric designer, that's something that's interesting to them. So I'm assuming it's the same for 1,000. Knitters and crochet fans. Yeah, that you're looking for some kind of fiber that you don't have access to, or another pattern or something. I know that when we were in Ireland this last year, everywhere we went, they were advertising, not only do they have full woolen shops, which are like set up in the tourist areas, but also the unique patterns of the Aran Islands were advertised widely and exclaimed and like, come in here and look at this. And I know people spend extra to go and be in those spaces to be around it.
And that's actually a great point. Is like places like that where like you can experience like where a specific yarn comes from, where a specific style of knitting comes from, and to really immerse yourself in that culture. Also New Zealand and just different areas that have like something that's more specific to their heritage. I mean, like, Norwegian sweaters are a huge part of their culture, and then, being able to experience it and see the different designs and maybe pick out your own sweater. I mean, as I can knit anything, right? But I would still go buy a Norwegian sweater in Norway for sure.
Right. Kind of like the weaving of plaid tartans in Edinburgh, right? Like
exactly.
Handed down for generations, and now cultivated modern techniques are still priceless, like they're really valued. Yeah. So I can imagine. And Norway, I mean, what a great example. Norway has become a real hot destination for Americans in general, but what a neat thing to incorporate that love of fiber and patterning and everything in that trip. So how fun. Okay. And the other thing I know that has become really popular in the last 20 years, let's say, is themed cruising. So seeing groups that are going together, and maybe they are going somewhere like the Caribbean, but the idea is that wherever you're going is only kind of like secondary to the fact that you're going together as a group and you have this shared interest. And so we're seeing some of that with knitting too, right?
Yeah, especially Alaska is like the perfect like knitting destination, because usually at each port there's going to be a yarn shop. But I personally, just as a human being, have been on many Alaska cruises, mostly because it's so convenient living near Seattle. And people will ask me like, do you get bored? Like, why do you keep wanting to go back to the same place? And it's like, it's so not about Alaska. It's about being on a boat that is just a lovely place to be for 7 days. And yeah, I mean, doing some excursions, but like it's about the journey more than the destination.
The experience overall is what's delightful. It's like people going to Disney every year. They go to the same place every year, and somebody who doesn't understand that is going to be like, couldn't you go somewhere else for vacation? Sure, they could. They enjoy that. And then there's also a comfort to it of like, I know what I'm getting into. Exactly. I know what's going to cost me. I know my favorite place. I'm going to go here first and do this. Yeah.
So, and there's always something else to do, like I always have like the list of like next time. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. And the opportunity to go to the shops and maybe meet some other knitters too along the way. How much fun.
Yeah. And get fibers that we don't have access maybe down here. Kiviot is huge, and it's found more up in Alaska than it is here. So treating yourself to like a really luxury fiber while you're on vacation is pretty fun too.
How fun. Okay, well, one of the exciting things we are going to be doing together is we are building up Knitty Adventures, partnering with A Little Knitty and helping other crafters to find opportunities to travel, make some new friends that share the same interests you have, experience some new shops, go to some new regions maybe. And we're going to do a combination of small regional trips, maybe some fiber festivals, that kind of thing, but also to some of the bigger trips too, like maybe a cruise coming up. So tell us a little about the trips that you're looking forward to, and let's also talk about what we hope will happen in the near future.
I love going to fiber festivals. I think a few years ago I went to Rhinebeck, New York, which is probably the biggest in the US fiber festival. And the fiber festival itself was amazing, absolutely amazing. But when I got home and I reflected on like what I enjoyed the most, it was just like relaxing in the Airbnb with my friends, knitting, talking about the day, getting to know each other better, because we know each other, but not like on that like 24/7 kind of, vibe. But and I realized that we can take that excitement and put that anywhere, right? So we can go to a local fiber festival, we can go to, there's a fiber festival right down the road every year. Like we can take that excitement of loving hanging out with fiber people and put it anywhere. So some of them are more local, like going to Oregon Flock and Fiber, which is in October. And then I also absolutely love train travel. And it's another one of those, like, because it's so slow, the travel is, and I'm not driving, right? If I'm driving my car, I can't knit. Spoiler alert.
For safety, please do not knit and drive.
So, on the train, I can just relax. And then, I would totally go on the train by myself. But then when you just add other knitting friends, and again, like I was talking about it being so solitary, there might be people out there that do find knitting to be very solitary. But then by being able to go on these trips, they can meet people and connect. And it's just, there's a really cool connection that happens on a longer trip, right? Like a couple hours in the shop knitting together, you might get surface, friendships, but those like longer trips, really, you get connections.
I love that. And the blending of both the destination and the journey.
Yeah.
All that can happen there. I love that so much. So we also have another opportunity coming up, and that is a special opportunity to visit you right where you are in Milton. So anyone who is listening or watching and wishing that they could go up to the Pacific Northwest and maybe meet you and see your shop, that is an opportunity that we are bringing up coming up this spring. Tell us about that experience.
Just a couple months away. At the beginning of May, every year we have a yarn crawl, which is like a bar crawl, where you go from bar to bar. Instead, you go from yarn shop to yarn shop. And you get a little taste of each shop. You get to see what they do best. Each one carries different things, has a different flavor. And then along the way, we give away, I think it's $2,400 in gift cards over 4 days. We give away free patterns. So every shop has 2 free patterns. So you get patterns, you get a little discount on the yarn that we use to develop the patterns. You get entered into win prizes. It's just a 4-day party. That's the other part of it that's amazing, is the camaraderie of that event. You'll come to this shop and then see somebody, and then you'll go to the next shop and see them again. You're like, hey, are you following me? And maybe all of you go out to lunch together as a little break. But it's a big party. It really is. During COVID, we tried to do like a virtual one, and it just didn't capture the magic, because the magic is the in person, right? So yeah, it's really fun. And so by teaming up with you, we can then get people to come check out the Pacific Northwest. Let me tell you, like, I'm a lifelong Washingtonian, and May is a pretty darn good time to be here. So you can also like check out what else is around here. Go to Seattle. Our glass museums are my favorite. Tacoma's Glass Museum and Chihuly Glass in Seattle. Like there's just so many things to see and do. I just saw there's a park. It's up in Everett, so it's a little bit further. But somebody yarn bombed the whole park. So in yarn bombing means that like yarn, knitting,
like
or crochet has been wrapped around trees. Yeah. And so like all of the trees, it's at this botanical garden, and all the trees are covered with yarn and little birds in the trees that are knitted or crocheted. And anyway, there's lots of things to see.
That is really fun. And I just was recently there in the fall. It's so beautiful. It'll be a beautiful time to visit and explore, and Travel Bug Girls will make it easy for you to see exactly what you want to see while you're there. So you can definitely check that trip out. We also have some we're dreaming up for the future, maybe some big ones. In addition to the festivals, we have on our radar all the hot spots, Ireland, Scotland, Norway, all of those would be great.
Yeah, I think those are like the big dreams, right?
Yeah.
Like those are the big
and then of course the cruise, with
Yeah.
A Little Knitty, we can make that happen in the near future as well. So these are things to be watching for. We are going to be sharing all of this, not only in all of our social media, but you can find all the details about our upcoming trips and sign up for yourself to join us. Grab your friends, and you can do that right on our website at travelbuggirls.com/Knitty Adventures. So, Jen, thanks so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. And we're so excited to share this new partnership with you, with all of our followers. And I hope you are too. How do you think your fans and friends are going to react to knowing we're going to expand your travel opportunities with A Little Knitty?
I think there's demand for it. I mean, I think I'm not the only one that feels that need to go travel and do all the things after, not traveling maybe for a little while.
Nice.
And then maybe somebody who's wanted to do those trips, wanted to do the Ireland trips, but doesn't have anybody to go with. I think that's the really cool thing of what you do is pulling girls together to be able to experience those things that like maybe they don't have, maybe their husband doesn't want to do that trip or they don't have a significant other, but it's something they don't want to do necessarily alone. It's really important.
Yeah, girl time is powerful. It really is. It restores us in a lot of ways. So having those friends that share your interests and to travel and see the world together is such a great way to reinvest in yourself so you can show up and be your best self the rest of the year.
If you have a trip on the horizon, everything's better.
It is good. Something to look forward to.
Yes.
On hard days. Jen, thank you so much for your time. Yes. We love working with you, and we can't wait to put together more trips for your group. And I hope everyone listening will join us. Go check out the website and check out Jen's store too, A Little Knitty. We have links on our website so you can find it easily. And until next time, friends, thanks for joining us.
The Travel Bug Girls have partnered with A Little Knitty, a local yarn shop in Milton, Washington, to create some incredible trips that you are going to love. Each trip is designed to check all the boxes for yarn and fiber lovers who want to take their crafting on the road or the high seas. So grab your favorite yarn and get ready to pack your bags. We have Knitty Adventures coming in May, August, and October of 2025. To find out more, visit travelbuggirls.com/knitty-adventures. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps the show grow and allows us to bring you more amazing content. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Find us online at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels.